well, we're going to go ahead and get this party started. And I am super excited to share with you and learn from you guys as well as we go through our next few minutes together. Yes. Oh, yeah, Karen, I'm about to have, I'm so excited. You will love it. Yes. Thank you, Tara. So excited. We could spend 45 minutes talking about that, but hey, let's talk about Quizlet in social studies. So our goal today, like I said, is to discover new and innovative ways to incorporate Quizlet into your social studies classroom. And if you're like me, you probably feel that sometimes our beloved content of social studies kind of gets pushed to the back burner of the core content areas. And my goal today is to bring it back to the forefront and figure out how we can use Quizlet to increase engagement in our social studies classrooms. So to introduce myself really quickly to you, my name is Bethany Petty. I am a high school social studies teacher. And for those of you outside the United States, that means that I teach grades 9 through 12. So my students are between age 14 and age 18. In addition to my day job, teaching high school social studies, I'm also an educational technology professor. So I get to work with students who are in the process of becoming teachers, and I get to share with them how they can use technology such as Quizlet to engage learners and enhance their learning environment. So it's a super, super cool mix of content and technology that I get to do on a daily basis, which is fantastic. I'm also an author. I've written 2 books on instructional technology practices and how to encourage student choice in the classroom. I'm also a blogger and a speaker, and I love doing this kind of stuff. So our agenda for today, we're going to be starting off with creating classes. I'm going to spend just a little bit of time on that, just because I want to make sure that everyone knows how to do that. And if you're interested in jumping more deeply into that, or maybe if you need a step-by-step refresher or anything like that, there are some courses or some sessions in the Unconference that deal specifically with that kind of stuff. Okay, so you're definitely going to want to check that out if you fall into that camp. Then we're going to be looking at creating study sets. And I want to spend most of our time here because I feel like this is one of the places where we can really dig in to how we can make Quizlet work really awesome in our social studies classroom. Then we're going to get into my favorite part of Quizlet, and that is the interactive games. We're going to think about how we can use these games as social studies teachers. Then we're going to look at Quizlet's new AI feature, which is in beta, QChat. And I really think you're going to love that. I'm telling you, when I first stumbled upon that, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And I really think you're going to love it as well. And then we're going to end our session with playing a couple of games and figuring out how we can make Quizlet, again, work the best in our social studies classroom. So I hope you're excited as we jump into our session today. So let's get to it. The first thing we want to look at is how to create a class, okay? And for many of us, this might be something that we've already done. If you're like me, you're heading back to the classroom here in a couple of weeks. I feel like our summer has just blown by, but I'm really excited to get back in with my students. And this is one of the first things I do every year whenever we start a new session, right? And to do that, and one other quick note, housekeeping, I am going to go back and forth between our presentation and a Quizlet tab. That way you can actually see all of this happening and what it looks like in real time. Okay, so we're going to jump over here, and I've already logged in to my Quizlet account. And as you can see, I've got my library, I've got home, I've got expert solutions. We're also going to be looking at that. You guys are going to love those. And then I've got just some recent activities that have been here on my Quizlet dashboard. So I'm going to pop over here to my plus button, and I'm going to click class. Okay, so here's kind of what it's going to look like depending upon the type of Quizlet you're working with, right? So I'm going to enter my name. This is going to be, I'm going to title this Quizlet Unconference 23. I can add a description. I can allow my class members to add or remove sets. I can allow class members to enjoy or to invite new members if I want to. I'm just going to go ahead and leave those checked. And then I'm going to click create class. So now I've got my class and I'm ready to go. And we have a few different ways that students can be added to our class section. Of course, you can really easily copy the link and share that with them through Google Classroom. You can also pretty easily just copy, like I said, copy the link from this area and invite them there as well. We can come up here to the little plus person button, and you can add usernames or emails, or my personal favorite is you can invite your students by using Google Classroom. Okay, so if you choose to go that route, then all you've got to do is connect your Quizlet account with Google Classroom. Super easy to do. And I always tell teachers, especially if you're working with younger learners, if you're working with students that may be following a multi-step process of going to this website and clicking this link and then clicking this button, maybe it doesn't mesh really well with where they are in their educational journey. That's definitely something that I would recommend, using that option to just dump it into Quizlet, or dump it into Google Classroom. That'll be a little bit easier for you. Okay, so here we are, we've got our class section and we are ready to rock and roll. So popping back over to our presentation, the next thing we want to look at is how to create a study set. And like I said, this is really where I want to spend a little bit of time, because there are so many different options within Quizlet that we can use to create study sets that are going to be really specific to social studies. Okay, so to create a study set, well, before I get into that, why should we create a study set, right? You're going to create your study set specific to your class. Okay, you can customize existing study sets if you'd rather go that route, and you can also organize those sets into folders. For me personally, with my students, I love creating my own study sets within Quizlet, because I feel like I can really tailor it to what my students need, based on, a variety of different things, where they are in their learning experience. And I feel like I can really customize what the content that they need, the way that they need it, what's going to be best for my students. Okay, so we can do that. A quick time-saving tip, which I'm a big believer in time savers. If you are someone who likes to use keyboard shortcuts, if you're like in Google Classroom or Google Docs or whatever, and you're a big keyboard shortcut person, don't forget that there are keyboard shortcuts in Quizlet. You can add a card. For me, I'm on a Mac, so it would be Command-Shift-R. You can move to the next side of a card or the next card by tab, and a few other things there. So don't forget about those keyboard shortcuts. So we can, of course, create our own sets, or we can use existing sets. So right now, let's see. Can you guys give me here in the chat, can you give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, or somehow tell me, do you frequently create sets or do you use sets? What's kind of your go-to there? Do you create your own, or do you use sets that have already been created? So I'm going to watch the chat for a second to see those roll in. Okay, so I've got create sets. Okay, create both. Okay, have the students create a set collaboratively. Ooh, I like it. Use existing sets, use sets, create both. Okay, create and find, create suggestions. Yep, both. Yep. Okay, and for those of you who use the sets, do you find yourself just using the sets that are already existing, or do you mostly like edit and then share those out? Create and use. Christy says edit. Okay, edit, 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 edit. Yep, tweak them. Yep. I like it. Edit. Okay, perfect. Edit and share. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Both edit and use. Depends on the quality. Oh, for sure. Yeah. And that's, Tara, I'm really glad that you said that, because one of the things that I always tell teachers when we're working with technology tools, or when we're talking about AI or anything like that, is to remember that we are the teacher. We are the content experts. We are the experts in what we need for or what our students need. And we know how to give them what they need, right? So it just really depends. It depends on what it's like. Is this what my students are going to need? Can I tweak it to help them? then I will, right? So I'm really glad you brought that point up. So we're going to pop over again here to Quizlet, and we're going to go ahead and create a set. Okay. So what we're going to do for this, we're going to go ahead and I'm just going to add a study set from here. And what I can do from this screen is I can either create a new study set, or I can jump through or I can add one of the sets that I've already created. Okay. And whenever I am like if I'm dragging content into a new class section, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to hit add a study set, and then I'm going to go back and I'm going to say, okay, constitutional amendments. They definitely need to be they need that content, right? So I can quickly pull that from my own personal library and toss that into what my students are going to be needing. Okay. So now we're going to hit our little plus button again, and now we're going to create a new set. Okay, so creating a study set, like I forgot who mentioned it, but it's something that your students can do on their own. They can work collaboratively on that study set. I love that idea. I love collaboration any way I can get it with my students, or you can create that study set for them. So I'm just going to title this one. We're going to title this, we're going to say Bill of Rights. And you'll probably recognize as we go through our session today that the content area in social studies that I teach most often is government. So a lot of my ideas and examples are going to come from that government teacher lens. So we're going to add a description. You don't have to add a description. I always like to just to clarify for my students. Use this to help you study for your Bill of Rights quiz. Okay, and then I can come down here and I'm going to enter my term. Okay, and for me, I'm just going to say First Amendment. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to let Quizlet drum up some of these responses for me. Okay, so freedom of religion, speech, press, assembly, petition. That is definitely one that I'm going to choose because that is clear, concise. It's exactly what my students need to help them understand that topic. Okay, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to select English. There we go. And we're ready to rock and roll. Okay. One of the things that we use sometimes in my class whenever we're creating a new set is I do like to add the multiple choice options. And this is something that you can do with Quizlet Plus for teachers. You can essentially create multiple choice options within a specific flashcard, which is pretty cool. So just to make you aware that that is there. Okay. So another option that I want to make sure everyone is aware of is the ability to add an image to your text. Okay, so one of the really cool things about Quizlet is that it's going to basically give you these ideas for images already here, ready to go, based on the term that you enter. Okay, so this is the First Amendment. Oh, that's nice. I like that one. Celebrating the First Amendment. This is freedom of all of our speeches, or all of our First Amendment freedoms. Pretty cool, right? And it's right there ready for us. If I wanted to, I could delete that image, and then I could come back here and I could add my own image. Okay, which is really, really nice. I can upload it from my computer, and I can plug that in to that flashcard. Okay, so we've also got, let's see, there's one about spying. So maybe I want to find one that doesn't necessarily give away the description, and I'll show you how we can use that specific option later on. So maybe I'll use that guy with his megaphone. Okay, so another one, we've got this Second Amendment. Okay, there we go. And then I'm going to go ahead and just use that second option right there. Okay, so then we're going to jump over again to our image. Let's see what we can find one. Let's go ahead and jump over to one of our founding fathers in the Revolutionary War time. Okay, so that's a really quick jump into how we can create the flashcards and utilize those images in order to make it a little bit more social studies friendly, okay? One other thing, my students, I don't know about you guys, but my students really like to take advantage of the different colors that they can highlight their terms. So maybe as they're going through, they say, okay, so if it's pink, that means that's one that I really need to study. If it's yellow, that means I'm good. If it's blue, that means I haven't talked about it yet. So we can use all of those different ideas. You can also, of course, bold your terms. You can highlight specific parts of the definition, which is really helpful as well. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit create. So now I have created my flashcards. I can always jump back, add or remove terms, and I can really quickly add those to a class folder if I'd like to, share them, export them, delete them, whatever I want to do from this screen. Okay, so that is how we're going to be creating those flashcard decks. I also talked about images as definitions there. There we go. Okay. So just as a quick reminder, if you guys have any questions, make sure you use that Q&A feature. There we go. Okay. And we are going to scooch on. Okay. Okay. All right. So jumping back into our Bill of Rights feature, or our Bill of Rights deck here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pop down and I'm going to add a term. Okay, we're just going to add another term, and this one, there we go, get my screen all taken care of here, there we go. And for this one, instead of including images in our definition, this time we're going to make the image our definition. Okay, so let's say that we've got the Third Amendment, okay, and we're going to pop over here and I'm just going to add an image for my definition. Okay, so then if we want to pop over to see what this looks like actually in the flashcard, here you go. Okay, so if I wanted to, one of the things that we do a lot where I teach in Missouri is we try to use a whole bunch of different sources to help our students understand the content because it's good practice, but also it's because it's something that typically will appear on our state standardized tests in some way, shape, or form. So if I can somehow insert an image, insert a political cartoon, a drawing, anything like that to help my students use what they already know about the specific term, the amendment in this specific example, if I can get something in there to help them practice connecting that information together, then that's definitely something that I want to do. So just a real quick poll. So if you guys can go to your chat again, and can you tell me, do you use diagrams, or I'm sorry, do you use images with your students in their flashcards, or do you just focus on text definitions and terms? I'm going to watch those come in. Okay. Yes. So we definitely use images. Okay. No, but I will now. Yeah, definitely. Sometimes one of the cool things about this is that once you figure out that the option is there, that's definitely something that you can play around with. Okay. So pair images with the terms. Okay. Sometimes the images are not always the best. Yeah, I agree. And like I said earlier, Elizabeth, it's one of those things that, you know, we've definitely got to remember that we are the teachers, we are the experts, we know what our students need. And it's something that if it's not something that you want in that image, then, you know, you can find an image, you can save it, and you can, of course, upload it. Yes. Having students draw images or symbols with their handwritten notes. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. Okay. All right. Awesome. Thank you guys for that feedback and those ideas. All right. So now we're going to jump back over to our presentation, and I want to show how we can create a set with a diagram. Okay. So as the social studies teacher, whenever I think of a diagram, I think typically of a map, or maybe like a flow chart where I want my students to be able to identify steps in a process, right? The steps in the bill to law process, or the steps in how an amendment is proposed and ratified, or maybe follow or tracing the evolution of the colony's expectation for self-rule in the United States, or maybe following, or maybe tracking the events leading to World War I, or something like that, right? So one of the things that I want to make sure we're all aware of is how we can create a set with a diagram, okay? And this is something that's super, super cool. So definitely something you're going to want to use. So to do this, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to create a new study set. And I'm going to title this, let's title this Continents and Bodies of Water. Okay. And again, our description is going to be map of, oops, I can type, I promise, map of the world. Okay. So then you're going to notice that you have the option here to import or add diagram. I'm going to click add diagram. And what's going to pop up is it's going to give me all of my files that I can choose from my computer. So I had downloaded this one earlier today, and I think it's really going to be super helpful for us. So if I wanted to create a diagram set, this is how it's going to work. Okay. So my first option that I have over here is I can pan the image, so I can drag it, move it around, whatever I want to do. Okay. I can also add a point. I can add a rectangle. I can add a shape, whatever I want to do. For me personally, I stick with adding a point, okay? Especially for this specific example that we're using here. We want our students to label the continents and oceans, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to drag or drop a point right here. We're going to call this North America, okay? We're going to call this South America, Antarctica. Okay, I'm just going to put my labels on here. Notice I'm not adding a definition, and that's something that we can jump back and add, but I just want to show you how easy this is right here. So Australia, and drag that over there. And there we go. Whoops. There we go. Oh, we'll go with that. There we go. There's Australia, and oh, there we go. Click to add a point. I was like, come on, Asia. There we go. And Australia. I'm sorry, Europe. Jump back over. Maybe there we go. It had a little glitch there on me. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead and hit create. And one of the things I always like to do before I get really too far into the set that I'm creating is I like to just make sure it looks how I want it to look, right? So if I go to flashcards, North America, I don't know why it came out like that. I'm going to click the card to flip, and that's what it looks like. Boom, right there. There's North America. Okay, South America. Yep, there we go. Antarctica. Perfect. Okay, so now I'm just going to jump back over here to my flashcards, and so yeah, I noticed there was a glitch there, so I'm going to jump back over and I'm going to change the color, or change the issue that I had there. Okay, now that whenever we're using our flashcards, it's not really going to give us a whole lot of information. Basically, I just need to be able to say, okay, that's Africa. All right, got it. Perfect. Australia, yep, there it is. Okay, but if I wanted to up the ante just a little bit, if I wanted to add another layer, I could jump into, we're just going to go ahead, we're going to save and edit. I can jump over here to my term and I can add a definition, okay? And of course, just like with the definitions in Quizlet, I can say this includes USA and Canada. I can change the colors of it, whatever I want to do. I'm going to go ahead and hit done. I can add my definition from the image, or I can jump down here and I can say, I can use the terms or the definitions that Quizlet generates for me, which can be kind of nice. Again, depending on what images or what definitions are generated. So South America, Antarctica, Africa, second largest continent. Okay. Extremely cold continent. There we go. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and hit create. So now, instead of using flashcards for this one, I'm going to go ahead and use Learn. And Learn is one of those features that if you create classes in Quizlet and then your students join those classes, this is one of those extra features that they can have access to just by being in your class, which is really, really cool. So definitely want to file that one away. So I can tell Quizlet how I want to study this. Do I want to do a quick study? Do I want to build short-term memory? Or do I want to memorize it all? I just want to do the whole thing. I'm going to go ahead and do quickly study and hit continue. Okay. Then I'm going to be asked, how well do I know this material already? Is it all new to me? I know most of it. I'm going to go ahead and say it's all new to me. And then we're ready to rock and roll, right? So the definition that we added for North America acts as a clue in this specific activity. Okay. So it includes USA and Canada. There we go. Perfect. So now South America. Now I'm just being asked to add, just to figure out where South America is. There we go. Got it. Antarctica. Got it. The second largest continent. What's the second largest continent? That is Africa. Fantastic. Australia. So it's either going to use the term or the definition to help me connect those images and or the location and the term, which is really fun. Okay, so there's Asia. Got it. Europe. Fantastic. And I got 100%. Okay, so now I have a few options. If I want to, I can only study the terms that were starred. So only one of the some of the terms that maybe I really need to emphasize, really need to highlight. I can start write mode, which instead of just clicking the images, it's going to ask me to write, maybe just a different level of rigor. Okay, spell mode. I really don't use spell mode that much in my specific content and age level, but that might be something that you guys use. You can choose your question format. You can answer with the term, definition, location, of course, prompt with the term, prompt with the definition, just lots and lots of different options that we can use as we use this in our classroom. Okay, so with that, I'm going to pop out of, there we go, pop out of Learn there, and we're going to look at test. Okay, so how can I use this in my social studies classroom? With this one specific activity, we can do a multiple choice, we can do true, false, we can do written. Let's just click them all and see what happens. Okay, so the second largest continent, is that Antarctica? That is false. Includes North America. Yep, that is true. Asia, choose the matching term. There's Asia. Okay, giving me a description. Australia. And so this is just one of the different ways that you can use this one deck that we've made in all of these different capacities. Tons of different ways that your students can study and engage and learn that content. Okay, so that's South America. Fantastic. That is Europe. There we go. And I'm ready to submit my test. How did I do? Fingers crossed. Yay, I got 100%. Okay, so you could share this with your students and say you need to complete or you need to take this test or you need to quiz yourself or whatever until you reach at least an 80% or until you get 100%, whatever it is, whatever works best for you and your students. So before I move on, just really quickly in the chat, can you guys tell me, have you used diagrams like this with your students? And if so, how have you done it? Is it just like a map? Is it a process? Like how have you used that with your students? Okay, so Elise says yes. Michael says no, nope. Okay, no, not yet. No, use maps. Okay, yep, absolutely. It seems like one of those things that this is the This is the easiest way to use diagrams, right? In social studies, maps, easy peasy. Yep, use the maps. Yeah, absolutely. It does. It's super cool. It's just one of those other things. Yeah, that Carrie Lee, you're right. This definitely screams anatomy for sure. But if we're looking for our students to add locations or to utilize those different map skills that we teach them in social studies classes, this is a really great way to do it. Fantastic. I see a lot of no, but I will now. Fantastic. I love it. I love it. Okay. All right. Awesome. Okay, so that is creating sets with diagrams. Like I said, I wanted to spend the meat of our time together on those sets. But now I want to switch gears to something that I know I don't use as often as I should, but it's definitely something that I wanted to bring your attention to, and it's the expert solutions option in Quizlet. And this is super cool. This is going to be something, and I think if you ask your students, they probably are familiar with this, but this is definitely something that we as teachers can take advantage of as well. So if I wanted to use the expert solutions feature, I'm just going to back out. I'm just going to go to my homepage for a second, just so you can see where we are. So I'm going to jump up here to expert solutions. And here's where this feature comes in handy. You can find textbook solutions, okay, if you wanted to. You can find expert written and verified answers. You can have, you can find solutions for popular textbooks. And Quizlet has added like hundreds of thousands more expert solutions since last school year. So just if this is something that you've kind of dabbled in a little bit, but maybe we're like, I don't really know, definitely give it another shot. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We can, of course, browse by subject, but I do want to show you guys what happens if I ask the expert solution for a specific explanation. Okay, so let's say I say, how does a bill become a law in the United States? Okay, so here's what I've got. It's going to default right away to textbook. So I can look at a whole bunch of different textbook options. There we go. And I can access those lessons. Okay, which is super, super cool. So let's go to, I would then go to the Constitution, structure of Congress. Let's look at that. Exercise 1. I love it. So now I can look at all of the different lessons essentially within this textbook. Okay, cool. Pretty neat, right? I'm going to jump back to our original expert solutions page where we were, and that was just one of the textbooks. Okay, I'm going to go to questions. And now I can look at a verified answer here. How does a bill become a law? All bills begin as ideas. The first step is drafting the bill. Next, the bill is sponsored. The bill goes to committees. It goes to subcommittees, and it's reported and debated. And then it goes to the other house and the president for approval or veto. Once the bill is approved by the legislative and executive branches, or the president's veto is overridden, it becomes a law, right? That is a really quick, easy, boom. There is the answer to my question, okay? So how can we use these questions, these expert solutions, in order to help our students gain a deeper understanding of the content? For me personally, I know that there's a way that I describe things for my students, and they might totally understand the way I describe it. They might just say, okay, well, Mrs. Petty said it's this, so here's the answer. Sometimes it's helpful for them to see how something is explained in different wording, right? And as the teacher, sometimes that gets a little scary because like I've said before, I'm the content expert. I know what my students need, right? But if I can come here to Quizlet, I can go to these expert solutions. I can find a verified answer. That's another way that I could help my students understand the content, make sure they understand it, make sure they truly understand the content, not just how I'm describing it, right? So lots and lots of cool things that we can do here with these expert solutions, okay? We can also jump over to study sets that are related to my question that I asked. Okay, and then I can say, I can even look at how many different people have studied this set today. right? Which I think is super, super cool. Okay. So expert solutions, what do you guys think? Let me know in the chat. Is this something that you have utilized before? Is this something that is a new resource to you? Is this something that your students have utilized? Let me know and I'll watch that chat real quick. Okay, new resource, yay! I love it. Okay, definitely looks useful. Okay, awesome. Yep, new resource. Okay, so this is a new one to a lot of people. Fantastic. I love learning new things. That just makes me a giant nerd, but that's okay. And is this something that you could use with your students? Is this something that you're like, yeah, I'm tucking this into my teacher toolbox, and we're definitely going to dabble at least a little bit more in this year than I have in years past. Yep. Okay, fantastic. All right. So our next thing that we want to look at is, of course, Andrew says he's going to dabble. Yep, I love it. Definitely use helpful reference for test creation, many healthcare supports. Absolutely, lots of different subject areas are found in those expert solutions. Fantastic. Okay. So now that we have created our set, we've looked at a whole bunch of different things. Now we want to talk about how we can share those sets with our students. Okay, so I'm going to jump over to, there we go. All of the study sets that I have I've created. Let's do our bodies of water one. That sounds good. Okay, so now how do I want to share this specific deck with my students? I have a few different options. I'm going to click that share button. I can copy the link, or I can also make sure that I add it to our class. So I can jump over to, here's our Quizlet on Conference 23, and I'm going to add that to the class. To do that, all you've got to do is click on the little plus button. Like, there's no adding and dragging and dropping and anything like that, or making sure it's in one specific section. It's there. Once you click the plus button, boom, it's there. Okay, so now all of my students who are in Quizlet Live or Quizlet on Conference 23 have access to that flashcard set, which is really, really great. One of the other things that I do quite frequently, and this is just how things work in my classroom, I will take and I will copy that Quizlet or that link to that specific flashcard deck, and then I'll create a QR code that links to that. And I'll put it up on my bulletin board, or I'll put it up on my door, and I'll say to my students, maybe right before a quiz or a test or something, I'll say, hey, don't forget to scan that code on your way out. That way you have access to the flashcard set for this specific unit. Now, I could tell them, go to Quizlet, go to our class, and you'll find it there. But sometimes I found that if it's super easy for them to access, like they just scan it as they walk out the door, boom, done, I know it's in their hands. Okay. All right, so before we play Quizlet Live, we're going to end our session with that. I want to make sure that I have time to share with you the cool thing that is Quizlet and AI. Okay, it's called QChat. All right, so this is going to work with any of the flashcard decks that I've made, and it's going to give me the option to have a conversation about what I'm learning. Okay, super awesome. So I just went to my constitutional amendments chat, or constitutional amendments deck. 105 people have studied that today. That's pretty cool. I'm going to go ahead and go to QChat. Now, keep in mind, this is in beta. Okay, so some of the things that might be here today might not be here tomorrow. We might wake up tomorrow and have a whole bunch of cool new things in our QChat option. But it is in beta, so things might come and go in flux. All right, so the Quizlet bot says, hey there, Quizlet is now using the power of AI to help you study more effectively. Let's get started. Great, looks like you're studying constitutional amendments. Please select an activity. And this is so fun. I didn't mention this earlier, but in addition to being a high school social studies teacher, I am also a mommy and a wife. And as a parent, or as parents, my husband and I are really excited to help our kids study with this specific tool, right? Because we all know, at least my kids love to be on their devices. And if I can say, hey, you can do some review on your math test tomorrow, then this is something really cool they can use. Okay. So I'm going to just click on this first option here that says quiz me. And it's going to create a quiz question. So what amendment grants the right to bear arms? That's going to be, I'm going to just say 2 and see if it counts it correct. Correct. Amendment 2 grants the right to bear arms. What amendment prohibits slavery? I'm going to answer this one differently. I'm going to say 13th Amendment. And it's correct. Okay. So it doesn't really matter the format of how I put my answer in. The QChat is going to recognize it and say, oh, that's right. Okay. That's correct. The 13th Amendment, blah, 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 blah. What amendment grants suffrage to African-American males? I'm going to get this one wrong. Let's say 10. Oops, that's not correct. The amendment that grants suffrage to African-American males is actually the 15th Amendment. Keep up the good work. So not only is it going to tell me what's wrong, it's also going to tell me how to make it right, how to fix it. It's also going to correct me, which is great. So that's just the quizzing feature. Okay. Now we're going to go to apply my knowledge. And as a teacher, I'm a huge fan of that word apply. I love when my kids apply what they've learned, and I'm sure you do too, right? So what is the significance of the 13th Amendment in the context of American history? Ooh, that takes it up a whole nother level, right? I'm not just being asked to regurgitate what the 13th Amendment does. I am being asked to just tell you how it's significant. Ooh, so maybe I'll say the 13th Amendment drastically changed the course of American history by eliminating slavery in the country. Okay, so we could say this occurred at the end of 1865. See what it tells me. That's correct. The 13th Amendment, ratified in 1865, abolished slavery and involuntary servitude. It was a pivotal moment in American history, marking the end of a dark period and beginning of a new era of freedom and equality. Fantastic, right? So again, it tells me that I'm right, says good job, but then says, here's how you can expand upon that a little bit more. Okay, so that is QChat. You can also tell me a fun fact, which I love. I'm a fan of fun facts. Okay. Did you know that the 26th Amendment, which lowered the voting age from 21 to 18, was ratified in response to the Vietnam War? Yes. Okay, guys, I am so excited to be able to share that that new feature with you, but we are officially out of time in our session. So I'm going to leave you today with my contact information. If there's anything, any ideas that you want to bounce off somebody, any questions that you have about how you can use Quizlet in a social studies classroom, please feel free to reach out. You can find me on Twitter, on Instagram. You can shoot me an email. I'm also on Facebook and Threads and TikTok and all of the things. So again, thank you so much for joining me today. And I hope you guys have a great school year. Thank you guys so much. And I will see you next time. Bye.